Blessings, everyone. I'm going to share with you a video about Dr. Mark Pimentel and the guidelines of IBS.
And some of the guidelines for IBS, even today, the guidelines say, well, use an antidiarrheal for IBS. And why? Because it's safe and it's inexpensive. And the answer to that is yes, it's safe and it's inexpensive. And I just finished saying inexpensive is good. But an antidiarrheal you're taking chronically. Can you imagine a guideline for Crohn's disease where the first line therapy is an antidiarrheal drug? It would be heresy in the Crohn's space, because yes, an antidiarrheal would make the Crohn's diarrhea better, but it's not treating the illness. And yet here we are still in 2023. Well, we recommend an antidiarrheal first because it's cheap and it stops the diarrhea, rather than focusing on treating the cause.
So, as Dr. Mark said, eventually we need to focus on the cause, on the root cause, and why we got this illness from the first place. He mentioned that eventually we always go for the safe and inexpensive. And I mean, we, not just the patients, but even the practitioners, the doctors, whatever. So what is that I am understanding here is that probably it could be that what we need to do may be not safe enough, so we need to go beyond safety. And also, it is probably that is going to be expensive as well. So that's why it's very important to understand. Like, example, someone who had food poisoning from going to a restaurant, that is very critical. That is a life-changing experience, truly. And eventually, if you want to go into that place, how can you understand that it was that place? So it would be eventually on you, and it would be a long way. What I am also want to discuss about is this recommendation that is still going about low FODMAP and restricting foods from eventually being eaten. And what I see here is a buildup of nutrition deficiencies. And if you go here, according to WebMD, the 7 signs your nutrition isn't on track is fatigue, which eventually we as IBS sufferers also have this symptom. Brittle and dry hair, ridged and spoon, sharp nails, mouth problems, diarrhea, apathy, and irritability and lack of appetite. I believe there are more. So this is something that eventually it's easy to create a narrow the food map, but eventually this is creating problems beyond physical. And I want to share with you something that also Dr. Mark said about the hysterical woman. So here I have this video.
IBS was a disease of women. That was what people thought. This is a literal quote from a physician. IBS is a disease of hysterical women. Literally a quote.
So hysterical women, how eventually people get the hysteria? And when you have nutrition deficiencies, eventually your mind doesn't work well. So let's put aside the stress and all the confusion that eventually you don't know what's happening and all the ping pong of practitioners you go, and this is for years, right? Not just 1 week or months, you know. So when you create an environment that is lacking nutrition and it's creating deficiencies, your mind becomes deficient. and eventually people will get certain mental issues. So this is something important. Whenever we go to a restriction diet, we are also challenging this possibility that can occur in our minds. Our minds doesn't continue to work well. Maybe we have poor memory, we have a lack of concentration, we maybe have also visual problems. So this is something important that certain side effects maybe are not listed in the medications that we are taking. So these are important too, to understand that nutrition as a baseline is very, very important. Let's stop here. Please send your comments and let's discuss this nutrition deficiency and the relationship between the mind as well. Wish you well.